Let's move to the panel discussion, and I am happy to welcome Ilinka Nastase with us as a guest panelist from REVA. Ilinka, if you could join me. Hello.
Hello, Marcus. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I'm glad to be here with you today. I am the co-chair of the Technology and Research Committee of REVA, the European Federation of Heating, Ventilation and Air Conditioning. And I think that you might see that within the handouts that you have, you received some very interesting documents. These documents, first I would like to introduce the guidance, the COVID-19 guidance document in its revised form. It is the 4th edition, and REVA put a lot of effort in this document. And then you have a very interesting article from Professor Olli Seppänen regarding the criteria for room air cleaners choosing, which is also very important in this current pandemic context. And you have also a document that is presenting our COVID-19 online course, which is a training course with four modules. It's around 8 hours that you can attend via learning management system. It is interesting because you can, there are a couple of modules that are recorded, and the participants can watch at their own pace those modules and to complete exercises and examination. And of course, there is a certification of at the end of this training. And you have another document which is presenting the REVA Guidebook 11, intended to introduce the new global air filtration standard that it had been presented today a lot. And it's a very interesting guidebook regarding air filtration in HVAC systems that can be, of course, purchased at the REVA website. Yes, Marcus.
Thank you. As I mentioned in the beginning, so we have these handouts available for download through the control panel, as you have mentioned, obviously, REVA documents along with the Eurovent guidance. I would like to start with a question. As we know, there's an elephant in the room, which is the current ongoing pandemic. What is the correlation between indoor air quality and the infection risk in terms of viral particles in the air?
Well, now it's almost a cliche that we heard a lot. You know, that phrase that our colleague just told us 1 minute ago. We are spending 19% of our lives indoors, but it's so true. So it is obvious somehow that the indoor air quality is related to all problems that could influence our health state. And now this current pandemic showed, of course, that the air quality might be problematic. And there has been a lot of studies. There are some questions about this paradigm shift that we have to take in order to acquire more healthy indoor environments. The particulate matter exists around us in very high quantities. And viruses, all kinds of viruses can be attached to this particle and can be transported. One of the questions that we put ourselves is why the World Health Organization did not acknowledge, since the beginning of the pandemic, the airborne nature this disease. But somehow there are some possible explanations regarding the statements of the World Health Organization. But now we know there are a lot of studies. Riva performed a lot of studies. We have some interesting tools that can correlate the indoor air quality and the infection risk. And it is acknowledged also that the concentration of CO2, for instance, in an occupied room can be a good indicator of the infection risk.
Thank you. I would like to call on PK. What role does recirculation play at the moment in this crisis, and what would you recommend in terms of air filtration stages in a recirculation unit?
So, one second. Recirculation is going to stay with us. I'm to say it's not going to change into a full fresh air system in a hurry. You know, if it really gets bad, then people might decide that we might have to go in for full fresh air systems. But if you look at international energy organizations and things like that, they're already raising that air conditioning consumes 35% of the world generated energy in order to keep us cooled or heated and things like that. So recirculation is going to stay. That's one thing. But recirculation done properly is different from just doing recirculation. If we all know that we shed particles, so even if you close the place up and somehow manage to add oxygen into the atmosphere, into the rooms, we would still have particles which need to be taken out. And in order to do it in an energy efficient way, we will need filters. And it's better to get down to the lowest level with the normal HVAC filters, and then between REWA, us, and all the world agencies, we can sort of experiment and find out how we can achieve it in an energy efficient way. So it's 1 and 2. First, do your basic job right, and then come out and do the experiments that are required to take out the harmful particles. Particles are always going to stay around. That's my take on it. Thank you, Marcus. Back to you.
Okay. When we look at the realistic situations in the region, and I believe might perhaps also be the case in India, a lot of maintenance crews used to take out air filters from air handling units and wash them and put them back in. Maybe Mark, you could shed a light on this practice and let us know. So, what is recommended from the industry in terms of filter replacement? Should filter be washed and put back in service, or should that totally go out of the system?
We do not recommend to wash filters. Filters are built up of very fine fibers, and when the filters are getting wet and maybe mechanically stressed during a washing process with high pressure water, that structure will change. So such filters will definitely drop in efficiency. We do not recommend to do that. Of course, if it's still the last thing that could be done before running an HVAC system without a filter, that goes without saying, but we do not recommend to do that. Filters for HVAC systems, filters for dust removal control in technical processes, that's a different thing. I'm talking about filters in HVAC systems.
And what is usually the life span of an air filter in a situation where you have an outdoor air quality of level 3?
Yeah, the classical answer is that it depends. But when we are talking about experience, a normal lifetime we see in the field is normally between 6 months and a year. So when such a system is designed, normally a lifetime of the final filter stage is maybe 1 year, but the pre-filter stage, which is normally a panel filter of lower efficiency, that can go down even to 3 months or 6 months.
Thank you. Then, Sylvain, if you could join me. Certification. I think there is still a little bit unclarity around certifying air filters. In which way are they certified and checked? Do you check every single and every individual filter, or is that related to the filter material?
Okay, thank you. So for this certification program, all filters that are certified shall be, let's say, controlled by an independent test or a test with a test report, which is provided by the manufacturer. But then afterward, we are doing a random selection of air filters every year, where those filters are tested in one of the 3 independent laboratories that we are using. And this is done on an annual basis. So there is basically a 2-step approach. First, the manufacturer has to do the job and provide a test report, but then it is checked again independently by laboratories that are accredited according to ISO standard, that are let's say the key laboratories in Europe to work on air filters. And we do that on a random basis. We select filters on site in the factories or in the stock locations, and we send them to the independent labs. So really it's a very strong process and an independent process that we use in order to assess the performance of the air filters.
Thank you. When we look, Shivan, when we look at the past years, we have seen a global push for more energy efficiency, decarbonization, and indoor air quality has been a little bit left aside. So the focus of governments and the industry has mostly been on energy efficiency rather than indoor air quality. How does the Eurovent certification program in this case help to mediate the balance between energy consumption and indoor air quality?
Yes, thank you. As I tried to explain in my presentation, the first thing to do is to check what are your requirements in terms of indoor air quality. So for air filter, it's the filter efficiency, and we do certify those performances. Afterward, in each of our program, including air filters, we also check the energy efficiency, and you can also verify how the products you want to install is and is rated among others. And this is done with the same rules, the same testing methods. So it's really a very good benchmark, which is done independently. So on indoor air quality and on energy efficiency, you can let's say assess what are your requirements, and we do provide the related performances that could fit to your needs.
Thank you. Vanjaj, what kind of regulatory developments can we observe on this subject on indoor air quality? What is happening in India, for example?
Thanks for the question, Marcus. Especially in India's context, over the past couple of years, it has been pertinent that the situation of ambient and indoor air quality need to be approached very systematically. To this effect, the government of India has come out with the National Clean Air Program in the January of 2019 under the Ministry of Environment. In terms of fetching the real-time data, they are using existing programs called NAMP and NAQS. And in terms of execution of the standards and the targets that have been set for the IAQ and the ambient air standards, there are a couple of ministries that have been targeted in achieving those standards. But I would really agree to what you just mentioned, that even though there is a policy document that has come out, the focus largely still remains on the outdoor air quality and the emissions. an IAQ, even though it is important and is recognized by the government, it is not really highly highlighted in the policy document itself. So, I mean, there is a policy document, but there is a need to sensitize the right stakeholders to, raise more awareness about IAQ matters also.
Thank you, Vantage. Ilinka, if you could shed a light on the European developments on that matter.
Marcus, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, of course, there have been ambitious goals of reducing energy consumption in EU since a long time ago, but now there are more and more ambitions, and this is reflected by the energy performance of buildings directive recast, and this includes measures that will accelerate the rate of building renovation, and this is very interesting from this point of view, because we want to achieve more energy efficiency systems. And here comes the point of apparently conflicting requirements in terms of indoor air quality and energy performance of HVAC systems, but it shouldn't be that way. The EPBD states clearly that the indoor environment quality should not be reduced because of improved energy performance. We have to find systems and upgrades of systems that will contribute to a healthy indoor environment and stick to this goal of energy performance. And here I think that a good practice example is the Eurovent recommendation for 21 from 2018 with energy efficiency evaluation of air filters, and this new standard that makes much more easier for designers and facility management specialists to choose the right filtration solution.
Thank you. Mark, if you could give us a bit of an estimation, what do you think we will see in the years ahead in terms of regulations on indoor air quality, and also in the way countries, governments, industry will approach this topic to protect us in the future against further viral diseases?
The pandemic will stay with us, I think, for a certain time. That's nothing that will be gone in a few months. And with that, the awareness of good air quality will increase and will stay, and that will be reflected in regulations. Good air quality won't be a nice to have, as it's sometimes seen. It will be mandatory. As a very concrete step, I expect that the recirculation units in HVAC systems, they will have mandatory air filters, and I also expect, at least here in Europe, that the filter classes will go up. They will go up, and the EPM1 filters we see in the market, EPM1 60% filters, for example, that will be a standard for HVAC systems. In places where we today see very often still EPM 2.5 filters.
Thank you. PK, you have mentioned in your presentation that replacing normal air filters with HEPA filters in office environments makes no sense. If you also take a look in the next future, in the coming years, do you believe there will be a bigger push for developers to implement HEPA systems in normal buildings?
My answer would be no. Basically, HEPA filters, maintenance, cost, everything is kind of prohibitive. First, do your normal HVAC filters right, go up to EPM1, high efficiency, and then if there is still a doubt, you have the air cleaners. Don't just put an air cleaner in a place where you've got everything circulating around you and expect it to do wonders. So it's going to be a 1 and 2 kind of thing. I don't see HEPA filters. I wouldn't want people to talk about HEPA filters in normal office air conditioning till they have exhausted everything, and till the standard air cleaner lying next to people who are vulnerable also is an issue. You know, that should be our next goal. That's my take on it. Can I just take a minute more? Can I just take a minute more? Because we are coming to the end. I would really like to thank you, Marcus and Eric Foucault, for allowing India to participate in this discussion today. You know, this has been a first of its kind. And I think going forward, looking at national policies and how we amalgamate ourselves with the rest of the world, because at the end of the day, it's one world. Air in India will affect air elsewhere. People from here will travel elsewhere. And we need to make it a big world. And you've gone a long way in helping us achieve that. So I just wanted to thank you on that. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Eric.
Well, thank you, PK. And I would like to come to a few more questions. So we have received further questions regarding the washability of air filters. Mark, if you could maybe renew this stand that it is actually absolutely not recommended to wash the general filters, right?
Yes, there is no doubt about it. When you wash the filters, then you will destroy the structure of the filter and the efficiency will drop. There's absolutely no doubt about it. If by any accident, by a sandstorm, anything like that, a pre-filter might be clogged and it's absolutely necessary to do anything to clean, then shake the filter, take a little bit low pressure air to blow the surface clean, but washing your filter will destroy the filter. You might not see that, but that can be measured.
Thank you. Let me see another question. In general, what are filter classes that can separate bacteria, virus, fungus, etc., so biocontamination? Ilinka, if you could help me answer this question. Are EPM1 filters with an efficiency of 80% sufficient to filter out biocontaminants?
Well, it depends on the environment and on the concentration of particles that are susceptible to be carrier of airborne viruses. The fact is, we know now that those viruses are not traveling by themselves; they are traveling by particles that might be resulting from the dehydration of saliva and other droplets generated by the human activity and presence. So it depends also the risk, the possibility of risk and infection. It depends, of course, on the density of people and of the their activity level. And I would say that that it depends. Of course, if the environment is problematic, like in hospitals or other rooms that are special, I would say that is not enough. PM1 is not enough.
Mark, I see you want to comment on that.
Yes, Ilinka is absolutely right. The viruses normally do not travel alone. We see the particle range between 0.3 micrometer and 1 micrometer is particularly critical, as these particle sizes are normally carriers of viruses. And the simple answer is put in the best filter you get. The best filter you get is a HEPA filter, knowing that's not possible to retrofit every HVAC system with a HEPA filter. But an EPM1 80% filter, for example, still has a relatively good efficiency in that range. And if there is a recirculation in the room, raise the recirculation rate as often the air is going through such a filter, as faster the particle, and with that the virus concentration is going down.
Thank you.
So not only a high efficiency filter, also raising the recirculation rate.
Thanks. PK, I would have a question to you. One of our listeners is asking if the ASHRAE 52.2 standard is now obsolete in light of ISO 16890. And another question comes surrounding this ASHRAE standard. How can we make sure that the ASHRAE filter standards are on par with ISO 16890? Since in many areas this standard is still applied.
So I wouldn't say that ASHRAE 52 standard is obsolete or so, because their working groups are talking to each other. You know, when you take the ASHRAE indoor air quality group, ASHRAE 62, and the air filters group, they are in dialogue with each other. They also understand this problem, and they are probably going to come out with something new, of all you know. So I wouldn't call it obsolete. Of course, they would want to hold on to the name that they have set up across their country over a long time, and take corrective action, and look objectively at ISO 16890. I'm saying it's time that more and more countries are signatories to ISO 16890, or sorry, to ISO standards. And US by itself is also moving into ISO standards wherever those are the only standards available. I've seen US documents where ISO standards are referred to. And I wouldn't say that 52 is obsolete. They are modifying, they are working on it, and probably you will see some changes in that as well. The gradation and the preparation of filters and all will be incorporated by them also. Thank you. That's my take, Marcus.
Thank you, Mark.
Let me add one thing. I don't think that the standard is in reality obsolete. The original intention of the ISO 16990 was to have a global standard. And the Europeans with the EN 779 and also Americans colleagues coming from the ASHRAE world, they worked together and contributed to that standard. So it's an ISO standard, it's a global standard. Nevertheless, the adaptation to that standard has a different pace in different regions of the world. We here in Europe adopted the standard relatively fast. Sometimes our customers, and maybe even we internally in the company, are still talking in F7, F9 classes just because the word is shorter. But in business life, we are living in Europe, the standard. When I come to the States, and I mean, I work for American Airfield, I have a lot of American colleagues, they still find it a little bit hard to live in the ISO world, but I see a slow adoption as well. So in daily life, the ASHRAE standard, coming back to your question, is not obsolete, but I mean, there is a reason why an ISO and a global standard was set up.
Okay, thank you very much. We are already over our time. I would like to make us a quick last feedback round among all the speakers. First of all, if you want to drop a final comment from your side, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, I would like to hear from you this comment, one comment on harmonization. Why is it so interesting and so important that we have a harmonized standard on air filtration? PK, if you could start, please.
So, as you know, the HVAC designers and consulting fraternity has a lot on its plate, you know, and added to that is today the complexity of indoor air quality, energy efficiency, chiller standards, change in chill water piping techniques, unitary VRVs making inroads into areas that were traditionally controlled by chill water systems. Even today, chill water systems see far more specifications than what VRVs see. So when it comes to filters, it should be definitive, and it should be the same across all the different kinds of systems that we use. We cannot have basically what you would have thin pieces of strips of things with almost 10, 15, 20 pascals pressure drop and saying that this does the job, it does ionization, it does polarization, and then compare it with chill water systems where we put in these heavy pressure drop filters in order to maintain spaces and have to equate one against the other. It doesn't work. So harmonization is very, very important. If you want VRV, VRF to compete with chill water systems, have at least the same filters put in the airside units that are attached to VRV, VRF units, and then compare apple to apple. That's my take on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
PK. Sylvain.
Yes, yeah, maybe the most important thing is, as what was mentioned, is now we have a global standard, and it's a chance. It's based on really meaningful value. EPM 1, 2.5, and 10 were discussed a long time ago. So really, this standard is really relevant and useful for day-to-day basis. And now we have tools, we have documents, we have certification to provide very useful data for everybody looking at both indoor air quality and energy efficiency.
Thank you. Ilinka?
We are talking so much in Europe about renovation wave, Green Deal, all the recommendation that the European Commission gives us, the HVAC, the building services engineering in general, mechanical engineering, I would say. So it's important now to have, like Sylvain said, meaningful values for both, for everybody, for the designers, for the those that are making the execution, and for everybody. It's important to have this global common language regarding testing methods, the possibility to select air filtration efficiency as a function of the outdoor air quality, for instance, and the required supplied air quality. It's important to have meaningful values, I would say.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, we are living in a global world. Yeah? There's a building built anywhere in Dubai or in India or in Kuala Lumpur. There's maybe a local consultant, but the construction company is coming from the States and they're ordering an air handling unit from a different country, and in that air handling unit is a filter from the next country. To make sure that the whole system is working together in the way it's designed and it's intended for, it's important that all people involved are speaking the same language. And in that sense, a global standard is the same language. And that's what I see as an advantage of a global standard. To ensure comparability, that's one thing, clear, but also to ensure the proper functionality of the whole system.
Thank you, Mark. And Vantage, last comment from your side?
Thanks, Marcus. I would totally agree with Mark and Elenica. The fact that we are living in a global world, we have to learn from each other, and especially when it comes to what PK just said about harmonization in terms of the Indian context, the Indian ecosystem has done pretty well in raising awareness about the PM levels in which we live. But we do have to work a lot on the IAQ matters in like Elenica put it, in relation to the outdoor air quality. It has to be a function of the outdoor air quality and the energy efficiency also. So I would say that we are living in a global world, and we should have more events like this where we can exchange views and learn from each other and get to learn from people who attend these events. On that note, I would like to highlight to everybody who is present that this is a part of a series of events that Eurovent certification and Eurovent have been doing for the past 3-4 months now. We organize such events every month for the benefit of all the stakeholders, sharing our knowledge with you guys. If you have any suggestions as to the topics that you would like us to cover when it comes to the HVAC industry, we would love to have your feedback on our social media pages on LinkedIn or our email IDs also. And we will be having another session in a short time in the next month perhaps, and we'd love to have you guys back again with us.
Thank you, Vanjit. Right, so we are coming to the end of this webinar. I would like again to alert you that we will provide you with an email within 24 hours of this webinar, which will contain links to our websites where you can download the presentations from today. The webinar recordings will also be available on the Eurovent and Eurovent Middle East YouTube channels. Please just go to YouTube and look for us. You will find us there. Please subscribe to our channels. You will then get the notification once the recordings are edited and finalized and uploaded there. We also would like to encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn in order to be aware of our future events. We always announce all of our conferences and webinars through emails and also on our social media channels. I would like to thank again our knowledge partners of today, REBA, ASHRAE Institute of Excellence, and the ASHRAE Daily Chapter for your support and your expertise. Thank you again also to Climate Control Middle East, our media partner. Thanks to our speakers. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope the webinar was of interest to you. And thanks to all of you joining us today. I hope we can see you soon again at one of our next webinars. Thank you very much. Have a good day and stay safe.